construction of the foundry, of the blast furnace and the coke plant started in 1900s. In 1900, the first building was made. And Mr. Gates had been brought by the company as furnace master. And he was involved in the construction of the blast furnace, which was the first building that of the industry that was built. And I remember him telling the story that he went to the management people and told them that as they were building an industry here, that they also ought to build a church. And he told the people, he said, the management, that if they would give the church the land, that the people would raise the money and build a church. And he told me that, and told me, just, it was common knowledge, he talked about it, that they told him, all right, you go find a place that you want to build a church, and we'll give the church that land. And he picked out the lot where the church is now built. And the company sent engineers up and made the survey and laid it out and gave him a deed to the Holt Baptist Church for that land. Now then the people, he and the people had to raise the money to put the building up, of course.
My first memory of the church and being in the church, I must have been about 5 because I was in the primary department at the church with, of course, Miss Laura and Edna Davis. My memory of it is little red chairs and an arch that was covered with artificial pink roses. Every birthday in the church, the child sat in a little red chair under that arch, and there was an artificial cake. Then, if they were 5 years old, they put 5 pennies. And that's my first memory.
The first remembrance I have of the trees in our church was it just had the main auditorium. And the trees were so pretty, and they wanted to build something, they wanted to build a balcony in the church. And my father got up and voted no. And I went home crying, and my mother wasn't able to go that Sunday. And she asked me what was the matter. And I told her my daddy voted, the only person in the church that voted no on something, and it hurt my feelings. And she said, what was it about? And I said, they wanted to build a balcony in the church. And my daddy voted no, and they called him up front and asked him if he would tell the congregation why we couldn't have a balcony in the church. And Mother said, what did he say? And I said, he said the church would not support a balcony. And I said, he was the only one, Mama, that voted no. She said, well, your daddy is the builder, and that's what he knows what's best. So they voted to build the wing onto it, and he built the wing of the church.
There were no Sunday school classrooms in the old church, and when I was promoted to the junior department, I was moved into the left wing of the church. They used curtains drawn on wires that stretched across the room to separate us. Although we could not see each other, we could still hear the teachers and children talking. In 1926, Reverend Busty came as pastor of our church, and he asked some of the men of the church to dig out under the church to make classrooms, and he also, at that time, baptized me. Several years after the basement was finished, the Holt High School did not have enough classrooms for the students, and while they were building the elementary school, some of the classes was moved up to the basement of our church, and I was in one of those classes. When Brother Weaver became pastor of the church, his daughter Marie organized the first GAs of the church, and it consisted of Agnes Carter, Orme and Carolee Gates, I'm trying to think.
That's okay.
Frances Jones, Rita Mae Kaiser, Bonnie Weaver, Lonita Smith, and Victoria Bennett. In the summer months, we met in the basement of the church, and in the winter months, we met in the auditorium, and Brother Weaver would have a fire built in the old coal stove to keep us warm. After working several years with the Sunbeams and GAs, I was asked to organize the Baptist Young Women. At the first meeting in my home, we only had 6 members, and it later grew to 20 members. This was a wonderful group of young married women of the church who later became wonderful workers for the Lord.
The trees were beautiful. It was right in a pine grove. And it was all right as long as we had horses and buggies, you know, to go to church in, because you could hitch the horses to the trees. And the day they started cutting the trees, when people began to buy cars, I was 10 years old, and I went out and sat on the steps and cried all day at every tree they cut. And every time they'd cut one, I'd cry a little louder. And Raymond Christian was our superintendent of Sunday school, and he was the principal of the high school. And I got mad at him and wanted them to fire him because he cut all the trees down. And they said we had to have parking spaces because people were getting cars. And they didn't have anywhere else to park the car because we didn't own any other land.
I know we used to walk all in the summertime clear from our house over in South Holt and told David when his baby would visit people. We told David, I told him why, Ruth had told him why. So we visited over in South Holt, visited the people over there, trying to get them in church when they come to church, and some of them went to other places, didn't even come to our place.
I found out the people always welcomed you to visitation, even the people who weren't a Christian. It thrilled your soul to go witness to to someone and see them. Some people said, "Oh, well, they went in one ear and out the other." I said, "How do you know? Where they walked the aisles and accepted Christ, you don't know what they did. They might have, and just you. That's all what you got to do. You got to sow the seed, and you don't ever know." I don't think I ever had anyone that was real mean to me in visiting. Never. I don't believe. I might have had something a little bit different, but that's all right. That's what you, look what the Lord did. I complain in pain. You know what I do when I do? I said, Lord, at least somebody didn't drive no spikes in them hands and no spikes in them knees down here. That pain. Can you imagine what kind of pain that was?